Welcome back to the Crypto Crossroads, where we meet to discuss hidden gems that have massive potential. And you like deep dives that take you down the rabbit hole, then you're at the right channel because that's all we do here. So please take the moment to hit the like button and subscribe, and we can get the show started. Alright guys, so we're going to talk about Keeta and there's other two projects known LightLink and IXS. But the main focus of this video will be Keeta. This is going to be an introduction video just to get our feet wet as I continue to research the project, and eventually I'll come out with a deep dive playlist just like I have done so for other projects. So let's talk about Keeta and what it does. Okay, Keeta is a chain agnostic project, meaning it's compatible with other chains. And the part that got my attention is that you can actually trade and issue real world assets on the Keeta platform, right? So one thing on this website that we can see right here, it tells us that you can unlock new liquidity. And to be honest, this reminds me a lot of a project that I'm already covering called IXS, which much like Keeta, it allows you to issue and trade RWAs and also bootstrap the liquidity, right? So I'm wondering, I'm really curious about Keeta right now because I'm wondering, IXS is fully licensed to operate business anywhere. It's setting up shop. That's how it's connected to Coinbase, Plug and Play, Binance, and Securitize, and so many other companies, right? This is something that we'll talk about in another video. But so I'm asking myself, is Keeta, since it's claiming to be fully compliant, does that mean that Keeta has acquired licenses? And honestly, that's something that I need to look into myself because this is just an introductory video. But one thing that I do know is that they are compliant in the sense that for users to participate on this Keeta platform, you are required to KYC, enter your personal information, a form of a valid ID, and the rest of the requirements so that you can participate in this platform. So those are the three main takeaways for Keeta as of now. One, it's chain agnostic. Two, it can issue and facilitate trading of RWAs by unlocking liquidity. And finally, it's built with compliance, so customers have to KYC. Now, one thing that caught my attention in this video that I saw regarding Keeta and its founders, leaders, is that they believe that Keeta can be a key project to establishing CBDCs and real world assets, RWAs. Let's take a look at that clip.
So it's not just our throughput, but all the functionality and all of the thoughts that we put in from a product standpoint to make this actually a practical option, and likely what I believe is the only option as of today to handle the CBDCs and the tokenization of real world assets and global finance.
Okay, so based on that clip, it's clear to see that the Keeta team is actually chasing some ambitious goals. They are going after the CBDC and RWA sector. And some of you may know that stablecoins are actually considered RWAs just as long as they are backed by fiat. So an example or two of stablecoins that are considered RWAs will be USDT and USDC. Now, what really drew my attention is that a man named Eric Smith is backing Keeta. He is actually a former Google CEO who was in that position for 10 years, from 2001 all the way to 2011. Then he transitioned to executive chairman and was there for since 2011 to 2015. So what exactly did Eric Smith, a former Google CEO, do for Keeta? Well, it led a group of investors to invest $17 million into Keeta. And according to TechCrunch, this investment is actually valued at $75 million. And if this isn't impressive enough, then let's talk about a recent event that took place on June 12, 2025. There was a public stress test conducted with the help of Google. And this test was actually quite successful according to Keeta. Some highlights, or the main highlight of this event, is that Keeta was able to successfully process 11.2 million transactions per second. And that is an amazing speed. So I immediately start thinking, okay, who exactly is working for Keeta? What kind of technology is being utilized? And thirdly, how secure is the network, right? And that's not me trying to FUD the project. I'm actually amazed at all the things that it's doing, plus the connections to Google. So a little bit more about Google and how it's participating with this Keeta project is that during this test, Keeta utilized the Google Cloud Spanner, which is essentially a database. Now, let's hear the Keeta team talk a little bit more about this stress test and its appreciation towards the Google team. Let's take a look.
One of the main things that we haven't really discussed is just, why it takes long to do one of these tests and what is actually required from the database perspective and from Cloud Run perspective. And I ultimately why we can't do it without the collaboration of the Google team. So I know some of you guys are watching. I appreciate you guys, all the work you've done to help us get here. But Roy, do you want to, as one of the main things that we...
Okay, so it's clear that Google is backing Keeta to some capacity. I mean, after all, Eric Smith, a former Google CEO, is invested in Keeta. So there's no way that you could tell me that Google is not involved. But let's talk about a different topic, right? And that would be the current price action, Keeta's tokenomics, and its headquarters, right? So we'll start with the latter. Keeta is located or registered in Santa Monica. And the reason why I think this is important is because there's a possibility that the USA will pass a legislation where there will be zero capital gains taxes on US-based companies, investments. So, in other words, if this such legislation is passed and you invested money in Keeta and made profits, since it's an American-based company, you will not have to report any taxes on your profits. So that's why I think it's important to talk about its location, if you're American at least. Now, let's talk about price action, which is another thing that's putting Keeta on the map. You see, just a couple weeks ago, Keeta was sitting, just around 10, 11, 12 cents. And I had the money to buy in, but I didn't take action, right? I had the money sitting on my wallet, but I didn't convert it to base and I didn't go on Aerodome or whichever platform is on. I didn't take action. So I missed out on this ride. But anyways, shout out to those people who got in early and had that conviction based off research. So yeah, Keeta was sitting around 10, 11 cents at its local recent low. And it went all the way to $1.50. So one morning I woke up, saw it around 60 cents. And I said, wow, that's like a 6X. And then I saw it at 80 cents. And I said, wow, I missed out. Then it went to 90 cents, $1, 120. And it finally topped out around $1.50. So, I mean, that's a heck of a run, especially for those people that got in early. So shout out to those people who had that strong conviction. Now, at the time of this recording, Keeta is sitting around 95 cents, right? And what's crazy is the market cap is still a little bit under $400 million. The max supply is 1 billion coins, and its circulating supply is about 40% of it, 400 million coins. So, I mean, it looks to me like this project is still early. I don't own any as of today, and I'm probably gonna sit on the sidelines and see if it pulls back a little bit more, right? But I'm still, based on what I've seen so far, everything looks bullish. I can't talk bad about it. I can only present to you what I know, and that is that Google is behind Keeta, and they had a successful stress test. Okay, so before we move on to the next topic, again, I just want to highlight the price action, right? Because it's been a massive run. So just to clarify, Keeta at its lowest was sitting around a penny, maybe even a little under a penny. It appears on CoinGecko that it was around from 70 to 80% of a penny, about 3 months ago. And at its highest, it went a little bit above $1.50. So, I mean, that was a massive return for those people that invested at the very, very bottom. And even if you invested near 80 cents, you still got a 2x when it topped out at 150. Now, again, everything I say here is just for entertainment purposes and it's never financial advice. With that said, from time to time, I have people ask me where they can get the projects that I talk about. So I'm going to tell you guys where Keeta is available. And here on the screen, you can see all the markets or some of the top markets. But some of the markets that you can get Keeta at is Aerodome, Uniswap, and LCX. Okay, so remember that Keeta is working on CBDCs and tokenization of real world assets. And there are two other projects that I'm focusing on at the current moment. And they actually work around the same sectors, right? And I'm not trying to pin any of these three as competitors because two of these may actually be compatible. And of course, we already talked about Keeta at length. We went over its tokenomics and what it does. But let's briefly talk about the other two projects that I'm making deep dives for. And that will be IXS and LightLink. So I'll start off by talking about IXS because it probably can connect with Keeta more than LightLink could, at least in my opinion, based on the current research that I've done for Keeta. But the reason why I bring up IXS is because it actually issues and tokenizes RWAs, just like Keeta does. And IXS is already licensed to do so anywhere, anytime, except the US. And Keeta is actually in the US, right? But I don't know if it has any licenses to tokenize and facilitate trading of RWAs. So as of now, I'm thinking, man, maybe Keeta and IXS can somehow come together and form a partnership where Keeta utilizes IXS to legally issue and trade RWAs. But that's just my speculation and something that I would like to see. But outside of that, I mean, IXS is a bullish project with strong connections to Coinbase, Circle, HBAR, XDC, Securitize, which is with BlackRock, and the list goes on. And to top it off, just look at the tokenomics for IXS. The market cap is quite low. It's literally $32 million at the time of this recording. And the max supply is 180 million coins, and they are already in full circulation, right? So in my opinion, or my personal experience, I haven't come across many great projects with such great tokenomics, which is a reason why I'm dedicating my time to cover IXS along with LightLink as well, because I mean, LightLink, just like Keeta, is focusing on CBDCs and also tokenization of assets. And actually, LightLink is a general purpose layer 2, but it has strong connections, such as CP Group, Disney, and even, I'm going to say it, Alibaba. So watch you could find out about that through my deep dive series. But I mean, just for entertainment purposes, let's compare the the tokenomics of Keeta to LightLink. And again, they are not competitors. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying that they will partner anytime soon. But just look at the tokenomics. Both Keeta and LightLink have a 1 billion coin max supply. And Keeta has about 40% in circulation. LightLink, on the other hand, has about 30% coins in full circulation, right? But the only difference in terms of tokenomics is that the market cap for Keeta is about $500 million. Actually, let's be exact. It's around $383 million for market cap. LightLink, on the other hand, is sitting around $4.2 million in market cap. So again, there are plenty of opportunities in this market. None of it is financial advice, but I just wanted to show you guys the projects that I'm covering at the moment. So let's do a recap on Keeta. But before we do, please do me a quick favor, hit the like and subscribe button. Check out my playlist on LightLink, IXS, and of course, a deep dive series on Keeta is coming next. Also, take a look at my friend's channel. He goes by the name of Crypt Technicals. I call him the Crypto Weatherman, and he's actually covering Keeta, IXS, and LightLink as well. So please take a look at his channel, give him a follow, and now let's get to the recap. Okay, guys, so let's do the recap for Keeta. Right, we talked about how it's tackling different industries and that it is compliant, at least in the sense that it KYCs its customers, right? It's actually backed by a former Google CEO named Eric Schmidt, and Keeta recently had a stress test that was successful. So now, we also talked about how it's American based. So there's a possibility that American investors will pay 0 capital gains taxes if the legislation is legalized. We also talked about the tokenomics for Keeta, LightLink, and IXS. So now that we cover these things, I have a lot of questions and a lot more times in research that I have to do. So as for today, I just want to ask you guys a question. What do you guys think about this project? And is it licensed to issue and tokenize RWAs in the US and anywhere else? Well, let me know what you guys think or know down in the comment section. And just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next one. And remember, God is good. Peace.